One of the big questions is,
what is money?
For practical purposes, it exists in a series of heterogeneous databases, very different databases.
do you believe in crypto?
Digital currency may be an answer.
But it is the highly speculative asset.
I do own Bitcoin.
There is no second best.
Welcome to the Crypto Curious podcast, your weekly crypto crash course. Every Wednesday, we dive into the dynamic world of cryptocurrency. If you're new to crypto, we recommend starting with our early episodes where we break down the basics and give you a solid foundation to understand the crypto world. And for the crypto curious, the seasoned addict, or the industry insider, we're here to help you unpack the latest digital news. My name's Tracy, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Blake and Craig. But this week, it's a little bit of a different episode because Craig is officially having his last episode as co-host on the show. That's right, we're definitely going to be very sad to see him go, but all good things must come to an end, isn't that right, guys? And Craig is heading off on a new adventure. No doubt he will still be popping in as a guest from time to time, but today we're going to give him a proper send-off, so make sure that you stick around to the very end of the episode as we've pulled together some of Craig's best and funniest moments. Craig, you're going to love this, over the last 3.5 years for a highlight reel. So that's at the end, isn't it, Blake?
That's right. But before we get to that, we will go through 3 major news stories that are on the tip of everyone's tongue this week. Firstly, one that Craig's going to be excited about, talking about the bullish Ethereum story that's coming to light and all of the positive news associated with that. Secondly, we're going to talk about a Satoshi-era Bitcoin wallet, which has recently sold 80,000 coins, which equates to about $9 billion US. And thirdly, we can't go without getting Craig's predictions and where his head's at, where we're at in the market cycle before we give him a send-off. So Craig, how are you feeling, mate?
Yeah, thanks guys for that. It's been an absolute pleasure co-hosting this podcast with you both. And as Tracy mentioned, I'm starting a new gig, so I won't be able to commit every week. But as Tracy mentioned, I will be a guest, hopefully on and off. And when Ethereum breaks all-time high, you got to get me back on the show. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. We've covered off everything. And I just realized, I actually just looked at this. I've been bull posting on this podcast about Ethereum for 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Can you believe it's been
Can you believe that?
Oh
and guess what, Trace? The all-time high for Ethereum was a week before we started the show. So after all this journey...
You know what? The second you're gone, mate, it's going to be all-time high.
After all this journey, we're literally down only from the first episode, but we're coming around and I need to sacrifice myself. I'm the sacrificial lamb.
That's it.
To send Ethereum higher. So I'm doing it for the people. But yeah, guys, sad to be leaving on a consistent basis. But yeah, been a pleasure learning with you all as well, our loyal listeners.
I love that. Heard it here first, a sacrificial lamb. But with that, let's move into our first story. As Blake mentioned there, folks, Ethereum is flying this month and it's just clocked its 4th straight weekly gains and now sits at the 7-month high. But the biggest story here is the ETH ETFs have officially overtaken the Bitcoin ETFs in weekly inflows for the first time ever, Craig. So it's a bit of a flippening, but an ETF flippening.
Yeah, huge. And I think Tom Lee should be now known as the savior for Ethereum. He's come in, he started off his treasury company, Bitmine, and they're pumping in ETF flows with their, what's it called? It's called the treasury style.
Yeah. Can't remember what they called it, but they're developing a company that's listed on the stock exchange that just its sole purpose is to buy as much Ethereum as possible. And there's a bunch of these popping up now as well. One that I was listening to yesterday was the ETH machine, where it's just a machine to acquire more Ethereum.
And there's a kind of an interesting thing because with Michael Saylor, it was kind of just him doing the Bitcoin treasury strategy. Now we've got Tom Lee and this guy called Joseph Lubin, who was, I think he was a co-founder of Consensus and Ethereum. So we've kind of got those two competing for the market share at the moment, which is, yeah, as you said, Tracy, has mean that Ethereum's ETF flows are now flipping Bitcoins, which is pretty crazy to see because it was only a few months ago when Ethereum was really down the dumps and it's turned around. Like even I'm surprised how well it's turned around.
Big time. I think Bitcoin's been leading the pack over the past 3.5 years, and really now is Ethereum's time to shine, I think, over the coming months and hopefully years.
It's probably worth mentioning as well, like historically, where the year post-halving, heading into the second half of the year, which has historically been the market cycle top. So this is going to be interesting to see. Do we see Solana treasury companies pop up, Ripple treasury companies pop up?
I think there have been a couple. Sol Strategies, even DigitalX Limited, Australian ASX listed company, is building their Solana treasury at the moment as well.
I got a question for you, Blake. Why would someone buy a treasury company versus the asset itself?
Yeah, because the idea of these treasury companies is that they're putting capital to work in order to increase the amount of assets they have per share. So, for example, one share could be worth 1 Bitcoin, and it's their job to make it so you have 1.1 coin per share, and that's their job.
And they do that through staking?
They could do that through a whole host of means, like leveraging capital markets, like raising money. They could do that through DeFi strategies. They could do that through derivatives. It really depends on the strategy of the particular company.
And what's interesting is strategy has outperformed Bitcoin this cycle, and these stocks, tickers that are buying Ethereum and are outperforming Ethereum in this little mini run. I wonder how this will go in the bear market, because if their leverage plays against the asset and these assets start to come down, we could see some pretty ugly drawdowns, potentially. I'm not sure.
I think that what you're looking at is just a more volatile option of the underlying asset. So, you'll see these stocks trading at a premium from their treasuries in a bull market, or when the market's going up, and when the market's going down, they'll be trading at a discount. So that's just how I think it'll go.
Before we do leave that story, just one other interesting stat that I saw this week was the DEX volume on Ethereum also jumped 76%, which shows a big spike for on-chain demand. So that's different to the ETFs we're talking about or the centralized exchanges. It shows potentially maybe a lot of traders out there who are sitting in maybe Bitcoin rotating a little bit through to Ethereum there. So,
well, we're saying that, the best marketing strategy is the token going up. Like we saw Solana when the token was pumping, everyone was using Solana. Now the same thing's happening to Ethereum. So for all your crypto marketers out there, just pump your token and you've got users.
There you go. And I think it's very clear that Ethereum is having a bit of a moment, and hopefully we push through that 4K barrier. And
it's going to happen next week, I'm telling you.
Well, absolutely. Like you said, you've made the call now. You're out of here. It's going to happen. I think let's move on now to our next story. And this was a huge move that shook the Bitcoin markets over the last week. And there's still a lot of stories coming out even today. A lot of people talking about this. And we're not talking about price action. We're talking about one of the largest Satoshi era Bitcoin wallets that's just moved and sold off 80,000 Bitcoin worth over $9 billion. So this has sparked a major debate online. Are some of the Bitcoin earliest investors cashing out at the moment? And is this a good thing, Blake?
Yeah, so it looks like some of these early players, like potentially Adam Beck and Roger Ver, and these guys that were right there investing in the asset class at the beginning, and now taking advantage of this opportunity that there's these large companies wanting to come in and purchase big blocks of Bitcoin, and they are selling off their assets. So this is really interesting. I think about it as well from a little bit of a different perspective. Like, if Bitcoin is the hardest form of money, and they're swapping these 80,000 Bitcoins for $8 billion or $9 billion, do they believe in Bitcoin or do they believe in US dollars?
But what percentage of their holdings is that? It might only be a tiny percentage of their holdings.
It could only be half their holdings. Who knows?
Not even in some instances where they hold so much. So,
well, I'm like you, Blake. I thought one of the biggest risks of Bitcoin is if that Satoshi wallet ever gets activated again, because the fact is we don't know what that wallet's about. We don't know who Satoshi is. And that's kind of always been a risk on Bitcoin. But I heard Dax talking about this, actually, who we've had on the show. And he says it's actually really bullish that they have the institutional demand to capture this sort of sale, because as you can imagine, if someone tried to sell, this many Bitcoin, even a few years ago, even before all of this institutional, this would be a really big correction in the market. We even saw, remember Germany sold their Bitcoin and it caused a bit of a stir? That was like kind of before this big institutional interests in the space. But
What are you saying, Craig? Then this has gone to maybe a country who is buying up big that we don't know about, or some big player, some big Saudi player that's like.
well, yeah, probably not necessarily saying that. I'm saying it's kind of bullish that these are getting now moved to like new holders who have a whole new set of price targets, they're going to want to hold it to 200K, whatever it is. It's just good that this is happening at this stage of the cycle, I think, rather than a few years ago.
It might also be worth pointing out that these transactions can also happen off-chain, where people can pass the private keys between buyers. So you never actually see the coins moving. It's just seed phrase that would move from one holder to another potentially.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. It's a lot of cash moving around, and it's always big news when OG whales move things around. But it's the beauty of the things being so out in the open, us being able to see these things. It's exciting.
Is
at the
this a
same
top
time.
signal, guys?
Oh, God.
Well, it's a good point. And I saw the other day that someone sold 50,000 Bitcoin or something and didn't even do a test transaction. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He just did the whole thing in one hit.
And what do you mean by that for the listener out there, Craig? What should they be?
Okay, so a hot tip that all three of us have made mistakes in, where you're selling or sending someone some cash,
Some Bitcoin.
and or you're sending yourself some cash or some crypto to another wallet. Always make sure you do like 1% or 5% of your
$100.
holdings, and then you can see if it actually lands, and then when it lands, you can do the rest. So
Just a test transaction.
test transaction, because you copy and paste it, but you never know. You might knock a key, you might hit the wrong button. So, yeah.
Safety first, folks. Okay, let's move on now. Before we officially send Craig on his way off into the sunset, we couldn't let him go without giving him a little bit of a grilling. So we've put him in the hot seat today. We want him to share his final thoughts and predictions, and of course, maybe some hot tips or some alpha before he's on his way, Blake.
That's right, Craig. So
I don't know if they'll ever have any alpha, guys. I don't know if you know me.
Come on, you've been talking about crypto forever. We want some info from you, mate.
all right. So Craig, where do you see Bitcoin and Ethereum heading over the next 12 months? Is it up only, or do we have to be careful?
I think we have to be careful in the next 12 months. Historically, 12 months' time, we're in a pretty bad bear market. But in saying that, whatever everyone predicts is normally something that doesn't happen. So I think Bitcoin probably is in its last phase. People are calling for 200, 250. I just don't see that happening. I think maybe it tops out at 150, and Ethereum tops out at around 5 to 6K. And then the show's over, whether if that's a, kind of black swan event, or, Trump's crypto shenanigans catch up with him. But yeah, I think if you've been DCAing with the Bamboo app, of course, you should be in a position now where you're thinking about either getting some into cash and starting to position yourself for the next market downturn.
Then, Craig, you've obviously given us some numbers there. At what time frame you think by the end of the year, early into next year?
I think Q4 this year. There's no reason to think that this time's different. So,
Okay.
yeah, Q4 this year, hopefully around Christmas time. It's frothy. Yeah, and we can go to the Bahamas together, us three.
Okay, you've just told us about Bitcoin, Ethereum. What else are you looking at for your portfolio? Is there any other sectors that you like the look at?
So I'm actually I actually don't have any alts right now. I only have Bitcoin and Ethereum. I know Ethereum's an alt, but no small caps. But the one thing that I do like is WorldCoin, which we have spoken about on the show a few times. I can see Blake. I can see Blake cringing.
Leave my eyeballs alone.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason why I'm bullish on it is because it's the only way for people to speculate on OpenAI and the ecosystem without getting private equity in ChatGPT or whatever it is. So that's the main reason why I'm bullish. I feel like Sam Altman is like trying to be the new Elon Musk. So maybe he becomes that sort of influential figure in the space. But yeah, that's probably the only one that I'm looking at. Uniswap is actually still in my portfolio. I forgot to mention. Uniswap is probably the only decentralized finance project that I still like. Uniswap and Aave with decentralized loans, lending. So I think if we return to Ethereum season and fundamental season, I think those two will do quite well.
Yep. All right. I think that the spicy left field prediction is certainly about WorldCoin, but what other trends and themes should listeners be paying attention to?
We've been talking about this for years, but I think there'll become a stage when like an actual good blockchain game comes out, and that could be the rebirth of the whole gaming narrative.
Let's think about this on the show in the last 3 years. We've had Star Atlas, we've had Illuvium, but we've had a couple of little critter things come along, but nothing big has stuck, has it?
Nothing is stuck, and I think there's rumors that Grand Theft Auto, which comes out next year, has some crypto blockchain integrations where you can sell some things on the open market. Someone has to nail that.
Not really a game though. It's still not really.
It's not, yeah, but someone's got to nail this eventually.
I don't think it's this cycle.
Maybe it's not this cycle, but if it doesn't happen eventually, I'll be surprised.
Okay, maybe that's not this cycle, then maybe that's a little bit further down the line, but yeah. Okay, no more alpha for you then, mate?
Meme coins killed me this cycle. I'm done with that.
I think they've killed everybody, and I've come to the conclusion that there's been another 3.5 billion done in meme coins in the last 24 hours, and I think it's just the same people in the trenches, P2Ping each other, making the money down there. So let's leave them to the side. But again, look, thank you for your honesty there, and we love those hot takes. We're certainly going to miss you calling the top and calling everything bullish and then having a freak out the very next moment. So, yeah, all good there. We might take a break there, folks, and when we come back, our short, sharp news bites. Here's Steve Smith buying a coffee. He's actually also investing in crypto at the same time, using Bamboo. You take care of drinking coffee with your mates, we'll take care of investing the small change. Start investing your change today with Bamboo. Welcome back. You're listening to the Crypto Curious podcast. Time now for a short, sharp news bites brought to you, as always, by the Bamboo app. Okay, look, this one's some news that bounced about 5 hours ago. It's about PayPal. There's been some news already about PayPal and their integration with crypto, but they're now planning to bring PayPal USD or PYUSD stablecoin to the Stellar network, adding Stellar alongside Ethereum and Solana. The move is aimed at powering fast, low-cost cross-border payments, remittance and business financing tools like PayFi through its still pending financial approval through the New York regulators. But this is a big move because apparently once they click their fingers and do it, everyone using PayPal will be able to integrate straight away basically with any wallet they're using, such as maybe you've got the new Base wallet through Coinbase or you've got your MetaMask wallet, any wallet. So that's actually some really big news today via PayPal.
Wasn't there a history with Stellar, how like they were kind of doing nothing for years and then they pivoted? Is that right, Blake?
They've tried a bunch of different stuff and yeah, I'm not actually sure where they're at.
Well, they're doing market payments now, clearly. So
good for them.
Yeah,
interesting.
Good for them.
What's up next?
Well, BlackRock exec joins the Ethereum treasury firm. So a former BlackRock digital assets boss has joined Joe Lupin's Ethereum-focused company SharpLink as co-CEO. So this is the company we spoke about earlier. They now hold over $1.3 billion of ETH in its treasury. But this BlackRock Ethereum tie is running deeper. We've heard Larry Fink years ago talk about how he wants to put all the real world assets and all the BlackRock funds on Ethereum. So this alignment is, really positive to see. So keep going Ethereum.
Fantastic. Next up, Tron goes public with a $1 billion plan. Now, Justin Sun, who is the founder of Tron Blockchain, has listed in the US with what they call a reverse merger. So they've bought another company and rebranded it to Tron Inc. They've raised $100 million to build $1 billion war chest, which includes about $200 million of the Tron token. Now, Justin Sun has an interesting past, and we've recently heard that he's invested heavily into Trump's World Liberty Finance project and USD1 projects. So it's just interesting to see this. I think that there's a disconnect between there being price for a token in circulation and price for a stock that's listed, how much revenue is being sacrificed from the blockchain. and being diverted back into the listed entity. It's not really clear, and I think that the market will find it hard to make sense of this, but they're doing it, and here they are.
This is a very interesting story because the reverse merger you spoke about, Blake, was with a company called SRM Entertainment, which is a company that actually designed and sold toys and souvenirs for parks and entertainment venues. So this was like a measly little penny stock, which Justin Sun has. I don't know why he's picked these people, but yeah, completely merged and now have rebranded themselves as Tron Inc. And yeah, the Tron token actually fell 5% while shares of Tron Inc. surged more than 23%. So as you said, Blake, there's a bit of disconnect with TRX and this share price. But the thing about Justin Sun is he's very well connected, as you mentioned, Blake. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this model plays out, that's for sure.
All right. I'm going to jump out of order here and do what Craig normally does to me and go ahead to this story here, which is the Solana co-founder has slammed memes and NFT craze and called it digital slop. This is from Anatoly Yankovenko, and he has dropped this on Twitter or X, saying, yes, that meme coins and NFTs are basically digital slop in a little post that he did. He posts a fair bit, this guy. And this is basically quite funny because 62% of Solana's DApp revenue actually over June comes from all of these meme coins. Solana does very well from these meme coins. And sure enough, just after he did this, within a few hours, there was a slop, a digital slop, and lots of different slop meme coins popping up all over the place. I think one of them went straight up to $20 million, and there's a bunch of them still up there at the moment. But yeah, it's just interesting that he said this. I think it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek and he wasn't being too heavy-handed in his comment, but I just thought that was a bit of an interesting one.
I think this is the beginning of the Solana rebrand. Now with an ETF, they're going to want some more treasury companies and they don't want to be associated with crazed degenerates on pump fund anymore. They want to be the quicker, faster, speedier Ethereum. So yeah, he's starting the rebrand. Good on him.
Yeah, fair enough too. And I think a lot of degenerates are moving across even to use Base, and a lot of that. It's not just on Solana anymore. So, yeah, fair play. What's up next?
So this is more a broader story around wrench attacks, which is now in full flight for custodians. Now, what I mean by that is high-value crypto holders are increasingly turning to centralized custody services amidst a surge in violent wrench attacks, which is kidnappings, torture, physical coercion to steal people's private keys. I think we saw this a few months ago with the Ledger founder had his fingers cut off for his private keys. And in 2025 alone, there were at least 35 of these attacks worldwide, which has surpassed 2021's record level of violence. This goes to show some of these founders that you see flexing their Rolexes, their Lambos, they're becoming targets. And I think people need to be really careful, particularly small communities like here in Australia, that it's very, if you flex too much, you need to be careful. So yeah, the crypto core mantra, not your keys, not your coins, has been thrown out the window a little bit for people to hire almost bodyguards, security guards for their crypto. Yeah, it just goes to show, be very careful out there.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. And look, that does wrap up the news. But before we go, we've put together something a little bit special. We've gone back through the archives and pulled together some of our favourite Craig Jackson moments, some one-liners, some rants, some unexpected tangents, some highly inappropriate things, actually. No, we didn't put those ones in there. This is what makes the podcast special. This is what makes the magic. And on a serious note, we've had the best time, the three of us, and it's going to be pretty sad that we all don't jump in together every week. Obviously, I do all the work. These guys just jump in, but it's not going to be the same without you. So sit back and enjoy this little walk down memory lane, all the best legendary moments of Craig Jackson.
Thank you, guys. Adios.
Craig,
Tracy, one more pullback plowman. How do you feel about the markets right now?
Well, you know, I love a pull out. No. That was just for Craig because we said that last time.
Tracy, the Germans are causing chaos like it's the 1940s. What do we do about this forced selling?
We cannot do that. We literally cannot do that.
The Bitcoin guys love me. Sleepy Joe.
Mr. Trump, why have you changed your opinion on crypto so drastically since February this year?
Look, Tracy, I need the votes, okay? I need to win big, okay?
Ain't
Do
that...
not put this in the show.
Craig's going to go first, as we spoke about Doodles a little while ago. Tell us all about it, Craig.
That's right, Trace. Doodles have confirmed their Dude token airdrop. So they're one of the biggest NFT collections, and I'm actually a pretty big fan of them. I actually bought one to get before this airdrop happened.
Let's not be shy about this, Craig. You told us this was going to happen a couple of weeks ago. You saw some little Easter eggs in their X community and you were like, get on this, guys. And we were all like, whatever, Craig.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when I told you that, it's actually down from that. So you can still get in at a better price than I can.
My name's Tracy, and as always, I'm joined by Blake and Craig, who are once again over in Sydney in the studio together. Hey, boys, how you going?
Hey, Trace, great to be back. Another week, another pump and dump, and not the good type. Craig, how you doing?
Oh, very good, Blake. The market has been completely insane this week. A lot of grifters, a lot of rugs, a lot of dogs, and a lot of airdrops. So we're going to cover all that this week. And it's one of those weeks, Trace, where our podcast is going to be really good because there's a lot of shit to talk about.
Oh my God, so much to talk about. A flawed security update by CrowdStrike, which is known to protect consumers. CrowdStrike, what I said. A flawed security update by CrowdStrike, which is known...
CrowdStrike.
I'm saying,
I thought
Cloud.
it was Cloud.
It's Crowd.
Oh, okay.
Is it? Crowd.
Yeah. I used to work in IT, guys, and cybersecurity.
CrowdStrike. Crowd.
A few moments later.
Yeah, I think, well, look, this just to me was like a really good reminder of other people's resilience on a centralised system. And I think these guys are still, today after this, the gold standard. There's no one else to use other than CrowdStrike. So...
CrowdStrike.
That's what I said.
CrowdStrike.
He said Cloudstrike again.
Did I?
Can't help yourself.
How does Tornado Cash Mixer play a part in what happened?
Well, it's been, people think
All right, there we go again.
Put that one in.
Mr. Trump, it's nice to have you back on the show again. I hear that you will be talking at a crypto event later on this week. Will you have any news for us?
I can't do it. I can't do it.
That was so good. No. There you go. That was Craig Jackson. And while this might be the end of one chapter with Craig signing off as his co-host duties, it is actually a brand new era for the Crypto Curious podcast. And we've got some exciting announcements just around the corner. So make sure that you do stay tuned over the coming weeks and find out what is to come here. We've got some big things on the way that we can't wait to share with you. So until then, Craig, any parting words for our listeners?
DCA and chill. That's it. Ignore the noise. Just buy and forget about it. Yeah, it's been a pleasure learning with everyone, all the listeners, and Tracy, Blake. Thank you so much for including me on the podcast. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll miss spending time with you both, which I'm sure I'll still be calling you both on a frequent basis anyway. Yeah, that's it from me. Hopefully I'll be on when Ethereum breaks all-time high. So yeah, let's get it.
That's it. Thanks, Jacko. We love you, mate. And that's the end of the show, folks. Until next week, when we're clearly going to break all-time highs for Ethereum, stay curious, stay connected. You can do this by joining our Crypto Curious Facebook group or our Instagram page. We have a weekly Crypto Curious newsletter that will keep you up to date. You can subscribe in the show notes below. We also have a subscribe button where if you're listening right now to the podcast, you can subscribe. Make sure you get us weekly. If you're looking to dollar cost average into the crypto market, have a look at the Bamboo app. You can use the code CURIOUS for $10 of free Bitcoin to get you started. There's a link in the show notes below. That's it. Jacko's out. He's gone.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye for now.
See you, Jacko.